So the other day, I really had to reflect and remember how important it is to see how far you've come. Because I think a lot of the times humans, we want more, we expect more, we set deadlines, we don't achieve them, and we get all depressed. And that's how I've been, I'm not going to lie. Past few days, I'm really for a while on and off. I think back to when I was 16, 17, the goals I wanted, what I wanted my life to look like, all this stuff. And it may not have been where I wanted it to be, and then I'm upset, right? Maybe it's my physique, maybe it's my habits, maybe it's where I'm physically located, maybe it's the people I surround myself with, whatever. But I think a lot of the times we set the bar too high. We don't realize how much progress we've made. So when I think about my physique, for example, it's not perfect. It's not, I'm proud of my physique in the years that I've put into it, but it's not where I want it to be. It's not my dream physique. When I look back at pictures of myself when I was 16, 15, 14, before I started lifting weights and eating healthier and hitting cardio, whatever, it's way worse. I was skinny at like very, very skinny at a point. Like skeleton. I was fat at a point, you know what I mean? My eating habits were awful. I would wake up and the first thing I would eat is some sugary cereal crap. Everything, you know what I mean? And I look back and I'm like, well, actually, it's a lot better than it was. It's not amazing. I still mess up for sure. Sometimes I still wake up and I do the bad habits. And maybe I eat something that wasn't good for me. Maybe, whatever. But I think the more days you can stack that are good days, you're going to eventually keep stacking more good days. You got to realize it's not so linear. Things can't be cold turkey forever. You can't just say, okay, I'm going to from now on eat healthy and then expect every single day of your life to eat healthy. That's not going to happen. But what you can do is say, what can I do today to make my diet better, for example? If you eat cereal, like sugary cereal in the morning, and let's say you have a big bowl of it, maybe you can say, okay, I'm going to eat half of what I usually do. And if that's not enough food, I can have like strawberries on the side. So even that is a step in the right direction because you're not eliminating the whole thing, but you're just cutting it in half and replacing the other half with something healthy. And then a week goes by and you fully replace it. You see my point, right? You get better. Like I said, you're still going to relapse. You're still going to, go back to your old habits here and there. But I think the point is the more good days you can stack rather than the bad days, more productive days, more healthy days, you're going to keep stacking them. And the more you can stack that, the more you will improve. So I may not be perfect. I may not be in the position I want to be. But I think if you were to look over the years, I've made progress in, my diet, my physique, my habits, my sleeping. I used to go to high school off of like 4 hours of sleep every night. That's awful. So bad for you. I'm not saying I get perfect sleep. Some nights I get 6, sometimes I get 7. But for the most part, I get, 8 hours of pretty solid sleep. And it's just a lot better. I go to bed at a reasonable time. I wake up at a reasonable time. I don't feel so groggy. So anyway, the point of this video is to just remind yourself sometimes, to remind yourself how far you've come. Because I don't think enough people talk about it. I think enough people do talk about, I want to be here at X point. I want to have this physique at this point in my life. I want to make this amount of money when I'm this, years old, whatever. But I don't think a lot of the times it will match up. You have to realize you're human, and you have to realize a lot of the expectations are out there, especially if you come from like complete degeneracy like I did. If you come from someone that was just an idiot, did all the bad habits, it's going to take a long time. But over time, you do get better. And I'm at a point where I'm not setting these hard, strict deadlines. Like, I'm not setting at 5 years from now, I want to have this type of life. I'm just saying from 5 years from now, if I can keep doing better, that's what matters to me. If my physique can keep improving and not go back to the way it was, if my sleep patterns can keep improving and not go back to the way they were, if my diet and the amount of like binge eat, like I used to not binge eat, but well, yeah, binge eat. Basically, just like I see one unhealthy thing, I get it, and I go crazy with it. Yeah, binge eating. Um, if I can reduce the amount of that stuff over the years, the better. Because it used to be to the point where that was really a daily thing. And I still binge eat, but maybe now it's like once every 2 weeks or something. Maybe once every 2 weeks, once a month. I don't know, something like that. I'm at the store and I'm hungry, and you know what happens then? You pick the unhealthy food. But see, I don't have as much self control as I'd like. Gonna be honest. I see something bad, it looks good at the moment, and I go crazy with it. I buy way too much, and then before you know it, I'm in a food coma, and I'm like, what the hell did I just do? So you're still gonna have those bad days where you mess up, you're not as productive, you doom scroll maybe, whatever. But the more days you can stack that are productive, that are healthy, that are aligned with your goals, that is far more important. Is stacking good days over a full blown cold turkey approach. Let's say for example you vape and you're trying to stop vaping. If you say, "Okay, I'm going to go cold turkey with it. I'm never going to vape again." It can be done. I did it. But it's going to be very hard. A lot of people are going to relapse, and you're going to want to do it over and over. But if you got nicotine pouches, or maybe you vaped, but it was far less, like maybe for example, you did something as small as I'm not going to bring my vape out in public with me. That way I can only hit it when I'm home. Well, you have to go to work and you have a life, I would hope. So that's going to reduce it. Stuff like that. Or let's say you're on your phone too much. Your screen time is too high. You can put on the screen limits and delete the apps, but I'm not going to lie, I've tried that, and you usually end up just caving back in, is what I've noticed. At least for me, if you're someone that doesn't have crazy self control like I do, or excuse me, I don't have crazy self control. So if you also don't have good self control, I feel like you're probably just gonna do what I do and go back to it. So I think it's more in the mental state, and once again, making it a pattern. It's easier, in my opinion, to instead of completely breaking the bad habit, to make new better habits and focus more on those until the old habits and the bad habits disintegrate. So if you're on your phone too much, instead of completely deleting all social media and saying, "All right, I'm done. I'm going," because I've done that, and I've a week later, a few days later, been back to it. I think it's better to create a solid, just a better routine. And maybe you still have an hour or two in the day where you doom scroll, but let's say you have a new rule and it's like, I'm not going to bring my phone out in public with me, so I can only use my phone when it's at the house. Now, a lot of people get scared of this because they think, what if I'm in an emergency? What if I need to call somebody? What if somebody calls me and it's serious? I get that. But you have to remember how unlikely that really is. Think about how often do you really, I don't mean some like kind of, no, like really serious thing. How often does that really happen? How often do you really get a phone call from your family and it's like, I'm in the hospital? It's probably not that often. Because when I sit down, I think it's just a way we cope. I think we just say that because it's an easy way to say, like, oh, well, what if this happens? But it almost never does. And I've noticed all the times I have not taken my phone in public for hours with me, nothing's happened. Maybe I get a phone call or a text, whatever. I just return it, but it's usually nothing serious. So the amount of times that actually is going to happen, pretty low. So let's say you go to the grocery store, you don't bring your phone. Maybe you write all the stuff down on a piece of paper, like the 80s, right? Just old school. Maybe you work out and you say, I'm not going to bring my phone. I'm not going to listen to stuff. I'm just going to fully focus, put my full attention into the gym, nothing else. Anything. That's a hell of a lot better, in my opinion, than going cold turkey. A couple days go by. Before you know it, you're back on it because motivation disappears. Motivation is nice, but comes and goes. Discipline is what will actually stay if you build it up over time. But yeah, the main point of this video is to just remember, don't forget how far you came. Look at progress photos if you have to. Look at the things you were doing 2, 3, 4 years ago. And even though you may still do them today, I think if you're not doing them as much and you're stacking more good habits over the bad habits, that's really all that matters. Because you can't expect yourself to never have a cheat day. Can't expect yourself to never mess up on your diet. It's going to happen. But like I said, I think if you look back and you can truthfully say, I have more days where I did not mess up on my diet rather than more days where I did, I think that's all that matters. So, I mean, even at 60, I'm probably still going to be messing up on my, you're probably still going to have cheat days, crazy binges when you're 70. So to say, I'm never overeating again, it's not realistic. You're going to do it. You're bound to do it. And if you really never do that again, I really don't, I can't imagine it would actually happen. So just don't forget, don't put yourself down if you think, like, I know it's easy to sit back and be like, oh, I could have done all this in these years, but as long as you're making progress on what matters to you, I think that's really the bigger picture. And yeah, just stop focusing on these, crazy goals or whatever. And I think a lot of the times we set the deadline too quickly. We're like, okay, I want to make X amount in 6 months. It's like, well, 6 months ago, you didn't even have a job, and now you have a job. So that's a huge improvement. At least we're making money now. We weren't even making money back then. So what I'm saying is, cool, you can make, like, okay, I want to make 5K a month, 10K a month, 50K a month. Cool. But to say I want that in 6 months, when you don't even know what you're going to do, it's like, you might be setting the bar a little bit too high. And I'm all in for self-delusion. I think it's good to be a little bit self-delusional, but to an extent. And even my friends will be like, look, I support that, but I gotta be realistic with you. You know what I mean? There's a difference being realistic and being delusional. I do think it's a little bit better to be self-delusional and a little bit too optimistic. I know some people are going to disagree with that. I don't care. I would much rather be too optimistic, too crazy about my beliefs and goals than be the opposite and just be like, lazy, whatever, and depressed and, oh, I'm not gonna, I don't like people like that. But you do need to give yourself a break if you expect these big goals to happen very, very quickly. You know what I mean? And they don't happen. If they do happen, great, obviously. I'm not saying that, if you really do achieve these massive goals very quickly, awesome. But if it takes you more than you thought, like it did for me, I thought by now I'd have an awesome physique, and I don't. But when I look back, it's still 100 times better than it was. And I think that's all that matters to me. But yeah, I guess that's really all I have to say. Don't forget how far you've come. Don't forget how far you're going to keep going. Going to keep going. Whatever. And yeah, just keep going. Keep following the mission, the goal, the people you want to be around, everything. And eventually, stack more good days, the bad days are going to eliminate. Or at least be very minuscule to what they are now.